Let's talk about misogyny for a moment. This is a significant topic because it is one that has dogged the men's self-help and dating advice world for many years. But is dating advice targeted at heterosexual men inherently misogynistic? No, absolutely not. Do we see examples of misogyny within the space? Yes, and this is extremely foolish. But let's have a closer look. First off, we need a working definition for the word misogyny itself. That's simple enough. It means hatred of women. The word is formed from the Greek roots misogen, to hate, and gyn, woman. And so for any action or school of thought to be properly misogynistic, it would have to be predicated on an actual hatred of women. Clearly, in the case of dating advice, and in particular the self-improvement that comes along with it, no such hatred is present. If anything, it could be argued that the men who seek out such material are highly favourably disposed towards women. After all, who would bother working on themselves and their social skills in order to have a better shot at forming relationships with a gender they despise? It makes zero sense. Indeed, every man that I know loves women and loves getting to know them. They enjoy spending time with women, having adventures with women, and so on. Yes, I work with some guys who are not blind to women's faults, and yes, they have faults too, and aren't afraid to talk about this in public, but that is not the same thing as hatred, and it is disingenuous to conflate the two. Sexism is a slightly different matter. Sexism is defined by Merriam-Webster as behaviour, conditions, or attitudes that foster stereotypes of social roles based on sex. So, is male dating advice sexist? No, because while dating coaches may give certain pieces of generalised advice that apply to women en masse, for example saying something like, women appreciate confident men, this is always done with the caveat that there are exceptions to the rule. Such generalised observations are similarly conceived about men by women, by the way, often with a similar caveat employed. For example, men tend to be more aggressive, men can't multitask, and so on. Once more, it's important that we're not disingenuous here. Are there certain broad brushstroke claims that you can make about each gender that hold up to some scrutiny? Yes, undoubtedly. Does that mean that any sane person believes they hold good for every single individual of that sex on the planet? No. There is then the further argument that men's dating advice objectifies women. That is, it sees women as mere sex objects with nothing else going on for them. While I can't speak for every dating coach on the planet, I can say for myself, and for the people I work with, that this is not something we believe or promote. While dating advice may teach guys to achieve more success with women, plural, one of the great joys of dating is the ability to meet and interact with women as individuals with their own specific quirks, habits, eccentricities, strengths, and weaknesses. Women's dating advice operates in a similar fashion. A How to Bag the Man of Your Dreams article in Cosmopolitan is not inherently sexist just because it proposes tactics that are generalised and could theoretically lure any man. Because the very obvious implication is that the woman will use these tactics to meet a guy with whom she has a spark or a special connection. This is exactly the same in the case of male dating advice, and it really shouldn't need to be re-emphasised every single time. There is also the notion that male dating advice objectifies women, but what does that actually mean? Fortunately, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy has a very interesting article on the subject called Feminist Perspectives on Objectification. Here's a quote from it. Objectification is a notion central to feminist theory. It can be roughly defined as the seeing and or treating a person, usually a woman, as an object. In this entry, the focus is primarily on sexual objectification occurring in the sexual realm. Martha Nussbaum has identified 7 features that are involved in the idea of treating a person as an object. Number 1, instrumentality. the treatment of a person as a tool for the objectifier's purposes. Number 2, denial of autonomy, the treatment of a person as lacking in autonomy and self-determination. Number 3, inertness, the treatment of a person as lacking in agency and perhaps also activity. Number 4, fungibility, the treatment of a person as interchangeable with other objects. Violability, the treatment of a person as lacking in boundary integrity. Number 6, ownership, the treatment of a person as something that is owned by another. And number 7, denial of subjectivity, the treatment of a person as something whose experiences and feelings, if any, need not be taken into account. Ray Langton has added 3 more features to Nussbaum's list. Number 8, reduction to body, the treatment of a person as identified with their body or their body parts. Number 9, reduction to appearance, the treatment of a person primarily in terms of how they look and how they appear to the senses. And number 10, silencing, the treatment of a person as if they are silent, lacking the capacity to speak. It should go without saying that male dating advice, and certainly the dating advice that I give, runs contrary to all of this. For example, instrumentality, the treatment of a person as a tool for the objectifier. This simply isn't possible in the dating market. A woman is either interested in you or she isn't. All you can do is put your best foot forward and see whether she's interested or not. There is no way of treating her as a tool. It's simply unfeasible. Similarly, male dating advice is 100% predicated on the idea that women have complete autonomy, which is precisely why we teach men how to make themselves as appealing as possible and to approach in a way that is engaging, because we recognise that women have autonomy and more often than not will use that autonomy to reject men who they feel don't come up to par. How about fungibility or reduction to body? I've said many times on video and in articles that, well, yes, men are primarily motivated by women's looks, as women are motivated by men's looks, by the way. What makes a woman really special for us is her individuality, her intelligence, her character, her wit, her style, and so on. I made the point in a video just recently that it is precisely these unique characteristics that we treasure the most. And when we fall in love with a woman, it is because of the things that make her unique, not because we regard her as one of many, and any of them will do. Ownership is an odd concept too. I don't know any man who believes that he owns a woman in any sense. Anyone who's sane is perfectly aware that both sexes have absolute autonomy and can walk away at any time. And it is precisely this fact that underpins a lot of relationship advice in this space, which often amounts to, how do you keep her engaged with you and enamoured of you so that she doesn't want to leave you? Strawmanning aside, it's clear that accusations of misogyny and objectification simply don't apply in the case of male dating advice. Do many men aspire to more options in the dating market? Yes, they do. Do they have a right to high quality and well-meaning advice and information about how to achieve this? Yes, just as women have a right to such advice about how to have more successful relationships with men. In the real world, most women understand this and there is no problem. But in the shrill echo chambers of online debate, the point is sometimes lost. It really shouldn't be. Both sexes are muddling their way through an unprecedented terrain of new technologies and shifting sexual and social mores. We should try to cut each other a little more slack. If you'd like to support me and my work, then you can support me on Patreon for just $5 a month. The link is below. You'll get an exclusive preview video like this one once per week, plus you can ask me questions for future videos. If you'd like a free call with me to discuss your own particular dating situation, then hit the link in the description below. You can also check out my bundle of 11 books about dating, sex, and the dating marketplace called Renegade Dating Blueprint. Again, the link is in the description below. See you next time.